Islam is one of the three main Abrahamic religions who all share the same foundation of beliefs, the other two being Christianity and Judaism. We see an example of this common foundation in this Persian miniature depicting Muhammad leading Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and other shared prophets in prayer. The prophet Muhammad is said to have received revelations from God through the angel Gabriel from 610 to 632 CE, the year that he died. Muslims believe that these revelations were not the beginning of Islam, but rather they were the restoration of the faith of past Abrahamic prophets such as Moses and Jesus. The holy book of Islam is called the Quran, which is said to contain the actual revelations that Muhammad received. Islam has 5 pillars of faith. 1. Muslims must profess that there is no God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. 2. Muslims must pray facing Mecca 5 times a day, at dawn, noon, mid-afternoon, sunset, and after dark. 3. Muslims must donate a fixed portion of their income to community members in need. 4. During the holy month of Ramadan, the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, all healthy adult Muslims are required to abstain from food and drink during daylight hours. 5. Every Muslim whose health and finances permit it must make at least one visit to the holy city of Mecca in present-day Saudi Arabia. During this ritual visit to Mecca, the Hajj, Muslims from all over the world gather around the Kaaba, which is a cubical structure covered in black embroidered hangings at the center of the Haram Mosque. Muslims believe that this is the house of God. There are several sects of Islam, and each has its own traditions, like the whirling meditation of the Sufis seen in this picture. Islam has spread all over the world, and now there are around 1.9 billion Muslims, making it the second most popular religion in the world, including an estimated 3.45 million in America.
I'm here with my friend JD. We're going to talk a little bit about his life and his religious beliefs. First of all, JD, thanks for talking to me. I really appreciate this. Could you speak a little bit about your background? Where'd you grow up? What was your home and family life like? Community?
Yeah, born in Augsburg, Germany. I'm a military brat. Grew up on a military base, but I was raised in Southern California, Los Angeles. Older brother and a younger sister.
What kind of community did you grow up in?
Well, community. Grew up in a lower middle class community, I guess, in the projects in Southern California.
And what was school life like growing up for you?
School life, I was went to school in the late '80s where they were doing a lot of busing in my particular area, so they were sending a lot of the black kids to white schools and trying to integrate the schools. So from the 4th grade through the 6th grade, I went to an all-white school, pretty much.
How was that? Did you feel like a normal kid accepted, or did you feel like you're an outsider? Or?
No, pretty much an outsider. It was me and a couple other kids that were bused there because we were, I don't know how they selected us. We were in this, it was an educational program. So the smart kids, they bust them out there, and then I guess they felt like we were savable. So they bused us to the school, and I went there for 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. It was a good experience, though. I learned a lot.
Okay, and then after that, you went to a more local high school then?
Yeah, junior high and high school was local, closer to where I was at.
Okay, can we talk for a little bit about what made you decide to convert to Islam, or do you not feel it as a conversion?
I don't feel it as a conversion for me because I personally wasn't one religion and then switched to another one. So
Yeah. So when did you discover Islam?
Yeah, I chose Islam as my religion when I was about 16 years old. Just from doing my own research, I always felt like that religion itself it shouldn't be given to a person. Like it's a person's own personal relationship with what they believe in. So I was never forced as a kid to be a certain religion. Like I've always believed that religion, you have to be able to research something and then calculate your own beliefs and what you believe in, and then you go to whatever you feel accommodates you know what you think. So by the time I was 16, I had done enough reading and researching, and I felt that Islam most aligned with what I believed in. So that's where I went.
And then what did you do after high school?
High school, went to college for about a year, tried that out for a minute, and then joined the military a couple years after that.
So I guess you don't really, or do you feel strongly either way about the division between Sunni and Shia in the Middle East? Do you have an opinion on the proper succession of?
No, I don't have an opinion on it myself. I follow more with the Sunni Muslims, but it doesn't make a difference. I think each person just interprets the word differently themselves, so I don't really align with or choose one over the other. It's just my own personal belief.
Did anything change for you about how people treated you in America after you found Islam, or told people that you had, or was it just normal life? Was that a common thing in your community?
It was common in my community, so when it was no big deal. In the neighborhood of people I grew up with, half are Muslim, half are not. So
yeah,
people are like, hey, good for you. Just, do you.
Did that play any role in your feelings on the fighting against Muslim fundamentalists, or was it just you doing your job for your country or your family or some other, or a combination of factors?
No, my religion didn't really play a part in it. I was a fundamentalist. Is a fundamentalist, whether he's Christian or Muslim, whatever. I was given a mission, and I was just completing the mission. I was more focused on my own survival, and the guy to the right and left of me is what I focused on. So even the Muslims, devout Muslims, will tell you that the fundamentalists and the other, radicals don't really follow the book either. So it didn't matter what the religion was. My mission was, to come home safely and protect my battle buddies on my left and right, and that was my focus.
So let's backtrack a little bit now. What made you join the military to begin with?
I joined the military because I needed employment. It was mostly the biggest part of it. I was come from a military family, so my father was a Vietnam era soldier. My mother was a retired Air Force. My older brothers retired from the Air Force, so I knew about the military and the benefits, and being young and having not a lot of opportunities, and also having kids young, you have to put food on the table, and I knew that as a good way to do so. So I went in initially just for a couple years to get money to go back to college to play football, but ended up staying for a career.
Do you align with any of the sects of Islam, the Sunni, the Shia, or the American, like the Nation of Islam? Or
mostly aligned with the Nation of Islam, because that more applies to American Muslims. The Sunnis and the Shias is more of a Middle Eastern thing, and they're separated by their beliefs of, who was supposed to succeed the Prophet Muhammad is kind of what branched them off.
Right.
By the time the religion got to the United States, it's completely different. So the Nation of Islam is more, I would say, catered to like English-speaking Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to follow.
All right, JD, I was wondering, do you believe in the literal truth of the Quran and the stories within, or more just the basic principles of faith? Or is it more of a nuanced blend for you? Or what's your take on that?
My take, the literal truth, I believe that just like any other religious manual, is written by man. So the literal truth can be interpreted by everyone in a different way. So I more believe in the basic principles, the guidelines that the book gives you. It's a guide for you to take and interpret for yourself, and then use those to guide your moral compass. So that's what I use the Quran for.
Okay, then on that similar note, do you believe that Islam is the path to eternal salvation, or is there eternal salvation? What are your views on this subject?
I don't believe in eternal salvation. I believe that good things happen to good people, and I believe that heaven is here on earth, and that you live a certain way to follow that guideline. You shouldn't have to die to reap the benefits of what you do here on earth. So
Is part of that following the rules laid out within the Quran, or respect for his prophets, or Allah's prophets, or is it more of a do unto others sort of idea?
It's more of a, I mean, you respect the word of the prophets, and I mean, all of them, it's good, but I believe it's just your interpretation and how you use it to guide whatever your moral compass is, like most religions are, or just put in place to give people something to believe in bigger than themselves and to guide people's morality on earth.
So do you feel then that God cares what you're doing?
I believe if there is a God, no matter what your religion is, that if you genuinely do good, then good things will happen to you. It doesn't really matter what your religion is.
Yeah.
If you follow a code within yourself and you know that you've done the best that you can do, then regardless of what your religion is,
So you think you'll reap your reward on earth at least, and beyond that?
Yeah, beyond that, no one can tell you unless they're gone and come back.
Okay, then let's go to some different subjects here about more social cultural things then. Do you think your version of Islam colors your views on gender and gender roles?
No, I don't believe I don't think the religion colors my views. I believe that men and women are, equal. But I do believe there are certain roles that are predominantly made for men.
Made by God, Allah?
No, not made by God, just in general. Roles in life that should be for men.
Like men are more well suited to.
Men are more suited to provide and protect. In general.
Yeah.
It doesn't,
Doesn't
necessarily,
doesn't
necessarily state that in the book, but in general, men were designed to provide and protect. Not to say that women can't do that, or or the book says that women can't do that, but that's my own personal belief.
Yeah. So similarly then, do you think mainstream Islam has a view on transgender identities? And then do you also personally have a view on this?
I believe.
Or is there such a thing as mainstream Islam?
Yeah, I don't know if
Really,
that's
I don't know.
mainstream. I think the people Muslims that follow the book, they see the book says men and women. It doesn't say anything about men and men, or women and women, or men that think they're women.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to those subjects, instead of diving into like the book, people just read it literally what it says, and then they just go with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe there's different situations cause for different interpretations.
So does the Quran then, or your Muslim community affect your own views on the transgender?
Not mine personally, because like I say, as far as a believer, I interpret it the way I do, and I don't force that upon anyone else. I believe whatever you believe in, it's your own personal relationship that you have with whoever you feel your creator is, and I don't feel it's my job to force that on anyone else. So it doesn't affect me at all.
Right. Well, that makes sense. So, what about sexual orientation rather than gender? Do you think how does Islam feel about this? And again, how do you personally feel? And are these two views related in any way?
Yeah, I think that's the same way with the last topic. As far as sexual orientation, I believe that it's in the book that man should be with woman, and that should be it. But we know it doesn't really always go that way. And I don't think it really, to myself, it doesn't matter. Now, the Quran has different beliefs, and devout Muslims are, I guess you call them more conservative Muslims, are totally against, condemning as far as, homosexuality and that, whatever. But,
so do you think this is one of those issues in the Quran where you spoke about earlier, where some things are built up by man, or it gets like that? Or do you really think within the Quran it was meant that God is against such things?
I think every religion that was created was based on the time that it was created.
Yeah.
And back then, men were with women, and that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of conservative people in every religion, they take the book for what it is, not knowing that even the Creator himself meant for his word to evolve with the times. And a lot of people don't see that. They take it, this is what was written and this is how it should be, instead of knowing that, this is what was written because this is what the situation was now, but the times have evolved and people should learn to evolve with the times.
Okay. Do you feel like your faith has any impact on your general ethical code? Does it dictate it to you, or is it part of your moral code?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with my ethical code. Like I said, it's like a baseline, a guide that gives you something to look at, to kind of dictate whatever your moral compass is, what you believe to be right or wrong, or the way you interact with people and the things that you do. So in that sense, yeah, I think it does kind of dictate my ethical code. So
Gives you a framework to work
like
with.
a framework, a baseline, something.
So do you think if you hadn't found Islam that you might have gone a different direction?
Yeah, definitely could have.
Okay. Now let's move into talk a little bit about you and your wife's decision to move to Qatar in the Middle East. Did your religion play any role in that decision?
No, religion didn't play a role in that decision. It helped with the decision, knowing that I had been here before, and I knew the religious background of the country and of myself, and I knew that us moving here wouldn't be that big of a transition for our family. So it didn't play a role in the decision, but it actually, but it all, obviously helped.
Okay. Well, now that you're here in Qatar in the Middle East, do you feel more valued as a human, or the same, different? Do you feel more peaceful here, or does it really have no effect, or why not?
It's definitely feel a lot more peaceful living here because just in general, the safety of the country. But as far as religious, I feel a lot safer here is because this is a Muslim country, and being Muslim, if you live in the United States post 9/11, there's different feelings about the whole religion of Islam. You're either, you know, a terrorist or some kind of fundamentalist, or, you know, they associate Islam with the far end of the spectrum as far as, you know, radicalism.
Right.
So
that's an issue.
So being here, there's no worries about it. So I don't, you know, it's definitely a lot safer living here as far as my religion, as far as being persecuted.
Or as far as crime, or
As far as
that in general.
Yeah, so it's definitely a lot safer. As far as raising children, definitely a safer country to live in.
Yeah. So, did you feel persecuted in America then because of your religion? Did you have any run-ins or encounters with the people that you were talking about?
Mostly law enforcement in the United States. In this country, you don't have to worry about getting pulled over by police or being, you know, harassed by, you know, anyone else. So I've definitely been, you know, persecuted in America, not just my religion, but my ethnicity. You know, being a Black American, I've been persecuted here in this country. I have not, you know, never felt anything close to that type of fear. I have more fear in my own country, the United States, of just getting in my car and driving to a grocery store than living here in the Middle East. I have a lot of friends of mine that are from America, and they, you know, I talk to them and they worry about, you know, they ask me like, is it safe over there? And they worry about, like, you know, I'm saying, be careful over there. But that's, you know, I'm, you know, 100 times more likely to get into something in the United States than I am here.
Right, yeah, I agree. Let's see. So have you noticed any difference in the practice in Islam in Qatar versus in America, like your community, your religious community back in California, or versus when you gather with Muslims here, or when you go to mosque?
Yeah, it's completely different, and it's because of the access to the religion. Back at home, you may have maybe one, maybe two masjids or mosques throughout the whole city. Here, you can't walk out the street without running into, you know, go 1 kilometer without running into 3 or 4 mosques on your way. So there's more access to it, and there's, you know what I'm saying. So it's a lot different. It's more personable. You can go into any mosque here in the country. You don't even have to be Muslim. They welcome anybody in. They let you in. They talk to you. It's real peaceful people. They're open. They want to talk about it. You know, they don't care, you know, where you're from or your religion or your socio-economical background. You know, you can go to any mosque and just walk right in and feel at home, where it feels like in the United States, you know, as far as like with mosques and churches, people have their own congregation that they go to. Like, you know, my family goes to this church, or we belong to this. You know, here you can just, you know,
less of a tribal sort of experience and more of a.
You could be driving down the street and see a mosque, and you just walk right in there, and you know, you can pray with those people. It doesn't really matter.
Well, it's all the same sect here, though.
It's
right?
all
Sunni, right?
They're all Sunni here.
Yeah, but from all over the world, though. It's really,
people from all over the world.
So that's really not a big consideration, I guess. Is there any mosque etiquette or anything like that would be different? I noticed, you know, public restrooms with the prayer rooms, many of them will have like a whole foot washing area set up, and if they don't,
most
are covered in water, of course.
No, yeah, always. Most mosques, even in the United States, you're supposed to at least wash your hands and your feet before you know,
So are there the
yourself for
same
prayer.
foot washing sit-down areas in
They're,
the U.S.?
they're different in the U.S. They're not. They don't have as many.
Mm-hmm.
And then, well, in the U.S., I don't know if they assume that you would do that before you got there because there's not enough space.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of mosques, but there are a lot of people that want to attend those two that may be in that city, or so there's.
Do you think some people just don't think it's as important to
Some
wash
people,
their feet?
yeah, some people don't.
Or I noticed that there's
They do it
definitely
prior.
clearing of the sinuses and the mouth and all that before going in.
Some people will do it prior, or they'll just do their hands and then
Yeah.
pray.
Do you think that's important, or is it just a personal custom kind of thing?
It's more of a tradition,
Yeah.
a personal, yeah. It's more of a tradition than it is as an actual like religion that you have to do this. It's more of traditional.
Has your perspective on Islam changed since you've moved to the Middle East?
I don't think my perspective of it has changed. I think I've got a better understanding of it, and if anything has changed, my belief is maybe stronger now living in a Muslim country and being around a complete Muslim community. Just knowing the stuff that you hear in the United States about Islam and Muslims, it's just completely different. It's such a sense of community here, and people really like look after each other, and so if anything, it's brought me a better understanding of it, and maybe a stronger belief in it, I would say.
So you find yourself more active, or is it just feel more present to you? Like as far as observing the daily prayers or going to the mosque?
Yeah, it's a lot easier here to be reminded of it, because
Yeah.
you can't go anywhere without hearing the call for prayer. When it's time to go, like you'll never hear any stuff like that in the United States. As far as
Oh yeah.
the call for prayer. Here you can go into a McDonald's and they'll have a prayer room set aside for you to go, and pray, or so it's a lot more accessible here.
So I'm just curious. I don't know if this is probably a really ignorant question, but do you feel like it's important to go to the mosque to pray, or do prayers count more there, or are you more focused there, or does that really not matter? Or, I don't know.
It depends. Traditionally, you're supposed to go to mosque. That is like part of one of the pillars of Islam is you should go to mosque and pray. For me, it's a little different because I'm American and I don't understand Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's easier for me to use my translated version of the Quran and do my own prayers in my home. But then I do during Ramadan, which now is the month of Ramadan, I do go to the mosque once a week, just to pray in the fellowship.
And so speaking of Ramadan, that is coming up in the next day or two. And how do you feel about that? Are you excited for it to come? Does it feel like a daunting challenge, or what is Ramadan for you?
I look forward to Ramadan, actually. Ramadan, the fasting part of, well, for those that don't know, during the holy month of Ramadan, you fast from sun up to sundown. And for me, it helps me gain my focus, and it helps you kind of reset yourself, and also to help you increase your discipline and your self-awareness. For me, being a soldier for as many years as I was, sometimes I still have stuff in my head and it's kind of cloudy, but during the month of Ramadan I can actually use that time where I'm fasting to concentrate on other stuff and kind of clear my head. So I look forward to it for the 30 days, and fasting's not that bad from sundown to sunup.
Was there anything you want to add?
Nah.
All right. Well, JD, thank you. I really appreciate the conversation. And Ramadan Kareem.
Ramadan Mubarak.